I have decided to do this video because I often get asked, what is it really like living with a child with Fragile X syndrome? Or how do you cope in your situation? And quite simply, the answer is, like most answers, when you are faced with something that is completely out of your control, is that you simply just get on with it. There is no other option other than to get on with it. I would be lying if I said it isn't difficult. It is actually single-handedly the most challenging thing that I have ever faced in my entire life. Hand on heart, genuinely. And I don't often like to talk about how difficult it actually is, because I have the most beautiful, loving little boy. Genuinely, he is the most loving little boy. His beautiful eyes just are filled with pure love. Just love. If you have a child with additional needs, regardless of whether it's Fragile X syndrome or autism or any other genetic or non-genetic condition out there, you will know that it is extremely difficult. I'm faced with things that I never ever thought or never even considered were a thing. For example, at times, because Cruz is non-verbal, he can be quite aggressive. And that's not just towards myself and his sister, but that's also towards nursery members of staff and other children, which I find so hard to manage. Not just manage, I don't want any single person being harmed or being stressed or finding this challenging behaviour difficult. So there's been times that I've left Cruz off nursery because I feel like the nursery need a break. But at the same time, the only source of support that I actually get is the nursery as well. And I feel like without the nursery, I probably would have had a mental breakdown by now. I mean, I've had many, to be fair, to be completely honest, because there's times where I'm just like, oh my actual gosh, this is so difficult. But I don't like to post the difficultness so much on here because he's just beautiful. He's just beautiful, and I just don't really think it's very fair on him. But also at the same time, I think that doesn't give a true reality of what life is like. Life is difficult when you have a child with Fragile X syndrome. He's non-verbal, so he can't communicate in ways that you and I or other people would. So when he can't do that, he then does it in other ways. For example, lashing out, and it could be hair pulling. It has recently started to be biting, which is quite tough. And it's very hard to manage these because regardless of you being a strict parent and saying, no, don't do that, you don't tolerate that, he also gets a reaction. So it's a very, very difficult to try and manage. Life is like Groundhog Day, 99% of the time. It's the same thing over and over again, over and over again. The only thing that I can maybe relate it to, being similar to, is caring for an adult or somebody with dementia. Now I've done that as well with my nursing background. I've worked with the elderly and I've cared for and looked after people with dementia, and it's the repetitiveness over and over again. Now, I've been a one-to-one support with an adult with dementia before, and even in those situations, whether it be a 12-hour shift or a 6-hour shift or whatever shift it is, you get some sort of relief from that, and someone will come and stand in, because it can be really quite mentally challenging to just sit there and do the same thing over and over again. That's kind of what it's like, a little bit, because it is the same thing over and over and over again. There's times where I'm often having to repeat the same cycles over and over, rewind things over and over, fix the cushions off the sofa multiple times a day, replace items multiple times a day, because Cruz can be really quite destructive. It is emotionally draining at times, it's mentally draining at times, it's financially draining at times, and it is losing your complete identity and having hobbies or doing anything because that becomes your sole purpose in life. And it's crazy because as horrible and as challenging as that sounds and as daunting as that sounds, I still wouldn't have it any other way, because he's my flesh and blood. And when he loves so hard, and he gives the biggest, most beautiful hugs and loves to have the biggest kisses. But that doesn't take the fact away that he is super strong and he is getting bigger. And I do worry about future life a lot. But worrying about future life or life in the future just makes you worry double, if that makes sense. Because if I'm worrying about that now but it's not actually happening now, then how worried am I going to be when it comes to that age? It's difficult. It's a constant thing. It's been up during the night multiple times during the night. It's been up during the day. It's trying to balance everything. It's cancelling plans last minute. It's making a plan but they're not going to plan because you have to change things up because you're having an off day or he's having an off day. It is taking away from his sister a lot of things. For example, swimming and whatever else that we used to all do as a family. It's taken a lot of that away because he can't tolerate certain situations and circumstances. However, I've tried my very best to make sure that his sister still thrives and gets all these other things regardless of how knackered and exhausted I might feel at times. So yeah, it is extremely difficult. Like I say, the most challenging thing that I've ever faced in my entire life. It has affected relationships, friendships, my whole life. Work, career, everything. It's impacted everything to the point I don't even recognise myself anymore. And when it comes to like a weekend like just now and he's away, which isn't at all often, I then feel lost, like completely lost, because I'm used to the erratic, constant being here, being there, rewinding the telly 40,000 times, fixing the cushions, cleaning up spillages, feeding snacks. Like I can't even sit down and have food without him jumping on me. I can't sit and have a cup of coffee without him jumping and bouncing or coming over to me, and then I've got to avoid that to make sure that he doesn't get burned stuff as well. It's being on duty 24/7, and it's hard. And then when it comes to the time that you're able to get the chance to actually have a sleep, your mind's just going all the time. It's fighting for their rights. It's attending the nursery or meetings multiple times in a week. It's getting phone calls because he's not tolerating things. It's everything. But at the same time, like everybody else in the world that has faced, like I said at the start, with something that they never thought they would be, it's just simply getting on with it. And there's nothing else you can do. He needs me. And I need him. I need him because he keeps me sane, but also sometimes make me question my sanity as well. It's tough going, like it is for everybody, but that is just a part of life.